everyone. My name is Brooke of Rock the Stage Fitness, and I am so excited to have you join us for our official launch of this podcast. Now, this is for all things pageant fitness. So today, my guest is the beautiful Danielle Halley, who is joining me from the West Coast, and she is absolutely brilliant. So let me just have a moment to tell you a little bit about who she is. Today's guest is a brilliant storyteller and creative visionary who has carved unique paths for the worlds of beauty, media, and personal transformation. Danielle Halley has been featured in Forbes for her candid and insightful perspective on the pageant industry, celebrated for her authenticity, her voice, and her ability to make women feel seen in a space that thrives on perfection. I am so excited to welcome Danielle to the platform. We've worked together over the past year or so. So Danielle, welcome. What's something that recently brought you joy, laughter, or much needed joy or calm?
Thank you for having me, Brooke. I'm very excited to be here and to support you, of course.
Thank you.
Honestly, just relating back to you being able to get through the holidays and knowing that I have the right tools, that I can enjoy the things that I love, but be able to circle back and recenter just really easily back to the right food and what makes me feel good. It really gives you a sense of control in your life almost to
Yeah.
know that you are going in the right direction, eating the right foods, feeling good about it. So yeah, that makes me really happy these days.
Oh, that's amazing. Of all the things you could have named, you named just being able to be in control. And I know why. Just thinking about our time together and just hearing your story of you growing up and not really knowing what to eat. So I know it's a big deal for you. So I'm happy that brought you joy. How would your friends describe you if they could, just for our viewing audience that may not know you as well?
I believe people would probably describe me as a very fair person.
Uh-huh.
I am not the type to necessarily sugarcoat, but I'm definitely not mean by any stretch. I just like to be realistic, and I'm definitely a realist. That's probably the biggest thing that people should say about me. So very fair and just very realistic and kind of straight to the point. Which,
Uh-huh.
some people love, some people don't love as much. But that's
Right.
definitely a trait that my
I
friends would.
love that. Sure. Well, I think authenticity is super important. That's one thing we talked about in your intro, and that people calling you, again, an honest person is probably a really good thing. Although my honest friends, typically we have to have some heart to hearts just in the delivery.
Yeah,
I know you're
I think
honest, but
it's a skill set. It's definitely a skill set to be able to portray those honest opinions.
yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, we met through PR pageant coaches, of course, and just had a great, again, kind of just few months of working together and preparing you for Miss Nevada USA. But before we jump into the pageant convo, let's just talk about you just a little bit more. You share openly about your love for storytelling and content creation. So when did you first realize you had a gift for creating and connecting?
When I was really young, I used to be shy, right? But I always used to write and draw, and I loved to create. So even though I went a very mathematical route in college doing engineering, I always loved to be creative. And
Uh-huh.
I think that's what's made me really unique. I now work in manufacturing sales. So
Yeah.
being able to have that creative but also technical side has really done well for me in my career. But
Sure.
at a really young age, even though I was shy to share, I always loved reading, writing. I would play instruments. I liked to be in plays. Even though I was really shy, I was able to get on stage and kind of be
Yeah.
a different character. And
Uh-huh.
then when we entered the world of social media, it changed everything because you could share your story with anyone who's pretty much willing to listen, and you don't need a media outlet to back you. You can just post on Instagram. And as time has gone by,
Yeah.
I've become less and less nervous to do so because people will reach out to you and they love your authenticity and your story. And that's always just kind of given me a good reason to keep going and share my life with others and my modeling, my acting, all of those things, I guess you could say, on social
Yeah.
media. So it's been over time, But in the past few years, just really just not caring about the haters and pushing that out and knowing the right people will come find you has really let me
Love it.
blossom in that area.
I love that. And so for every interview that I've done, or at least presented online in terms of who's coming up as a launch guest, I've asked people online just to ask questions, right? What would you ask Danielle if you could? And one person asked if they could actually photograph you. And I started laughing as you were giving your answer because you were like, I just feel a lot more comfortable now, right? Online and sharing my story with those who want to listen. And so someone was very interested in being able to, for you to model for their company or whatnot. But anyway, um, hilarious. So your Instagram, your interviews, so they really do show so much depth, really behind the beauty. What's a part of your story that people are often surprised to learn?
I think that people don't necessarily realize that I struggled with my health for a lot of
Yes.
my adult life.
Okay.
They see, this very happy, smiling
Yeah.
girl living, what seems like a great life. And I actually fell really ill in my late teens, early 20s with something called HSP vasculitis, which means inflammation of the blood vessels. It was very rare. I had to go to the ER several times. It took a long time to kind of figure out, and I ended up being on steroids for about
Oh,
2 years and getting
wow.
regular blood work. And I really struggled after that, again, with my eating and my fitness.
Yeah.
Prednisone really causes you to gain weight and can
Yeah.
change so much in your body. And I did not have those tools
Mhm.
to make it through that without gaining weight. And even if you can, it's almost nearly impossible. But I was just really discouraged when I came out of that. I had
Yeah.
a lot lower self esteem, even though I had modeled when I was younger. My body looked different. I had grown up and I had very little control over the hormones in my body.
Mhm.
So we all struggle with periods of our life. And I think on social media, you'll see something that is what I'm really proud of, the life that I've grown today. But I don't think a
Yeah.
lot of people know that because it's not really a visible disorder. And
Yeah.
luckily, I've been treated for it, and its likeliness of reoccurring is low. But I have to get regular blood work, get checkups, see a rheumatologist, all those things. And it was a really hard part for me in my life. So that's
Yeah.
definitely something I think that very few people would know about me unless you really knew me personally.
Yeah. Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, Danielle, your story is just so common in regards to the behind the scenes, right? People not knowing really what some of our girls are struggling with in terms of health or just trying to figure out, how to be able to walk through hard seasons and such. But you did it with such grace. And I am so grateful that, you're able to come out now and share that story because for anybody who may be in a hard season or struggling trying to figure out, this is what I've been diagnosed with and I'm not sure how this looks, like there is light at the end of the tunnel. And so I'm super holistic in my approach, which when we were working together, I know that there were some things that we just addressed with you that I think really unlocked some keys for you health wise. And it was just beautiful.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I wanna talk with you then, just in regards to your pageant journey. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just give some background here first for context. Take us down your pageant journey lane.
I did not grow up doing pageants.
Mhm.
I had started modeling originally in New England. My modeling agency told me to go to a Miss Rhode Island USA informational. I believe I was 17. And I
Okay.
showed up and I went and I'm like, they want me to do what? And speak and do these things. And I was like, you're crazy. I'm not doing that.
Right.
I didn't really look at it for several years, and I moved out to the West Coast. I'm between Los Angeles and Las Vegas, and I believe at the time the Miss California USA organization reached out to me, just being like, "Oh, we think you might be a good fit," via Instagram, and I kind of just watched it, and I was intrigued. I had been to that informational years ago, but didn't really take any action on it, and I was just a lot more interested this time around and decided to enter the state pageant. California USA was my official first pageant, which is insane.
Wow. Yeah, that's a tough one.
um, I also got to compete at Nevada USA after that,
Okay.
which I really loved. And then I switched my primary residence to Nevada and competed again last year for the state title and placed top 10, which was a great improvement for me, really exciting because you were obviously part of that journey and I put
Yeah.
so much work into it and kind of got bit by the bug for sure. Fell in love, almost wish I took that leap, almost a decade ago, but everything happens for a reason. And I'm glad it found me where I'm at now. And I'm just very excited to continue it, honestly. I already have a dress. I'm ready.
Then that means you got to keep going. And there are so many, I think, again, in the pageant world who first time out of the blocks, you know, may or may not have won, but then they kept coming back. And every time that you come back, the growth is so beautiful. The transformation inwardly is just awesome and it shows up on the stage. I think some girls do it backwards. They're just really focused on how can I, wow the judges? How can I be pleasing, to the judges? The truth of the matter is you win in private. And it's when you get this thing down packed in private, it makes such a huge difference when you walk into that room because again, you're able to be yourself and I put in the work. And Danielle, you put in the work. The journey that we took, I was so impressed with you. And I talked about it before. I'm like, you are a poster child because everything that I asked of you, you absolutely put 120% behind. Like there was no problem. Every workout, in terms of just getting food on track and just making changes with your habits and whatever was asked, it was not a pull for you. Even when you traveled, how did you maintain that level of consistency? And what made you make up your mind to be all in?
I knew that I am a very competitive person, and
Okay.
although entering a pageant, there's a very good chance you're probably not going to win. I knew I wanted to be competitive, and I really searched around for a lot of different coaching companies and looked at the girls that were coming out of them and decided I really liked the PR girls. I got to meet with Jules, love Jules even more, and I was like, these girls have it. They have the body, they have the walk, they have the speaking skills. And I knew getting the body was probably one of the hardest things because
Yes,
it just
yes.
takes so much time. And
Mhm.
the sooner you start, the easier it is because you don't need to change everything right away. And that was really my goal. I knew it was going to be a lifestyle change. I just didn't really know where to go and how to do it myself. And I knew even outside of pageants that I wanted to do this. I
Mhm.
didn't grow up in a household where we ate a variety of vegetables. My mother had a lot of
Yeah.
food allergies, so we were really restricted on some of the things that we could have even in the household. And then I didn't grow up necessarily with a lot of money, so we had, cheaper meals, hamburger
Yeah.
helper, access to organic foods were maybe not as available at the time. So I knew what I didn't know, and I wanted to employ the best to get there was basically,
Yes.
and it hasn't just helped me with pageants, but it's helped me my modeling career, with my confidence as a whole, with my weight. I don't yo-yo nearly as much, even when
Yeah.
I'm maybe not working out as much. So overall, like I just knew it's something I had wanted for years and was finally ready to
Wow.
commit to it.
That answer is so beautiful. It is because at the end of the day, you made a decision and then you were hungry for change. And I think that when a person is that way, when the opportunity comes, you're still prepared to make the leap, right? It doesn't require someone running after you, although accountability is super important. I know that made a difference. But in terms of you saying, you know what, personally, I'm vested.
Mhm.
And the accountability just takes you higher. On my Instagram, like I'm always posting quotes, especially from Kobe Bryant, because I love his mindset. It's just a mindset that says, I'm in. And you definitely have that. So I'm excited to see what this next year holds for you. And let's just see what happens, right?
Yeah.
Because I think Miss USA in 2026 is going to be something spectacular.
I agree. I'm very excited for the
Yeah,
transformation to come.
absolutely. What do you think the biggest misconception people have about pageantry is?
That it's filled with a bunch of mean girls.
Mm,
Obviously, there's many movies, and it's similar to almost sorority girls. I was also in a sorority. They make a ton of movies about them being mean girls, and
mhm.
obviously that stereotype, quote unquote, exists for a reason. Okay,
Yeah,
sure, there are bad
yeah,
apples, but there are also, especially the PR girls, are some of the nicest people you'll ever
yeah,
meet, and
sure.
you're really finding girls who have a like-minded attitude. They want to be involved in their community. They
Yeah,
want to be fit and they want to be able to help others and use their voice. And obviously, there's always going to be people who are in it for the wrong reasons. But ultimately, I think that is the biggest myth by far because the majority of women I've met are very pleasant to be around.
very pleasant, cream of the crop,
Yeah.
running things. I call all of my girls overachievers, right? If you think about at least the clientele that we have, it's beautiful because they are really vested in terms of them becoming their best self. And I mean, you have a few that are a bit more self-driven in terms of self-ambition, but for the most part, like you said, there's a mission, right, behind the crown and a mission behind why they are pursuing this next step. And it is beautiful to be around women like this because typically what we've learned is that as a person grows older, they just stop dreaming. You
Yeah.
know, they stop becoming, they stop growing. And so when you're around other people who are just like still as focused and intentional with life as you are, it just does something special. So community, right, makes a huge difference. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so happy that you shared that. And so to all our girls who are contemplating, whether or not you want to compete, I think that honestly, this is probably one of the best years to decide on that with the leadership changes in Miss USA if you're interested. And there's so many other pageant systems that you may be also contemplating engaging in. But just do your research and figure out what you think is the best fit for you, your personality, and again, the quality of girls that you want to be surrounded with. So let's talk about your health prep uh, and your swimsuit prep. I call it health prep because I'm like after a sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah.
But before you and I worked together, I know you already mentioned that you were struggling with nutrition the most. Would you say that was at the top of the list for you?
Yeah. I think
Mhm.
nutrition would be number one, and then number two would just be doing the exercises that fit my body type and really fit the pageant body that
Yeah,
we're all going for. It's just different. It's not the same as an athlete or a bodybuilder,
mhm,
and the nutrition isn't the same either. I think pageant nutrition, honestly, should be like you said, is lifestyle daily
yeah,
nutrition. The way you teach it, it's very sustainable long term, which
mhm,
is really important and something I was looking for when finding a coach. I didn't
yeah,
want anything crazy or like cutting
yep,
weight or doing something super intense. It was like, oh, we're just doing the same things that I do every single week. Okay, cool. That's what I need. Great.
yeah, yeah.
But nutrition was definitely huge. I think it really opened my eyes to a lot of what I was missing in my diet.
Most girls say the same thing. Oftentimes girls are working really hard in a gym and trying to get the result that they want, but 80% of the result is nutrition, and that's what most girls don't understand. So if you're looking at trends on TikTok or celebrity trends, right, and you're trying to do all these different just shortcuts really, because you don't understand your body, you're probably cutting yourself short and it just won't last. And so in your experience, what would probably be the biggest shift you noticed in yourself as you were just carrying out the fitness plan and the nutrition and just a mindset shift? What was probably the bigger win for you?
For me, once I started kind of on that diet, like I said, I didn't yo-yo as
Yeah.
much, but I also immediately lost like 4 or 5 pounds, and that kind of became more my like natural resting weight. I had always been right around 132 to 135, and then
Yeah.
that resting weight had kind of dropped, which is really what I didn't need to lose a lot, but I needed to just slim up. I was just kind
Yeah.
of like puffy almost,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
swollen. And that's also because
Mm-hmm.
I was lifting very heavy. I was doing
Mm-hmm.
very high intensity. I
Yeah.
noticed I looked just a lot leaner. I didn't necessarily lose a lot of weight, but you could see in my body composition that it was entirely different.
Yeah. Yeah. Because pageantry is all about physique.
Mhm.
So most girls are confused about this, and there's so many methods, ladies, that you want to find what works for you. But for the majority of the girls and transformations that we've been able to experience with Danielle and other beautiful ladies for a pageant stage, it is all about long, lean, beautiful, yet still healthy and defined. And so uh, it's just based on, again, what you perceive for your own goal. And I love that for you, we saw results. We saw the leaning out, but it was still, again, very it was healthy. You looked beautiful on stage, and I feel like there's still so much more to explore with you. And as we keep moving forward, like, I want you to be able I'm not sure if they release scores in Nevada or not, but I want you to hit every single point, right? And
Yeah.
so that, as you mentioned, swim is probably one of the most, I guess, predictable categories because you have full control right before you step on that stage. So I want to know, Danielle, if somebody came to you and said, I wanna feel powerful, confident, and aligned with my body like you. What would you tell her?
I think that has to obviously come from within, but I do not believe there's anything wrong with wanting to level up either and wanting a certain physique or body as long as it's healthy long term.
Yeah.
So if you aren't in love with the way you look in the mirror,
Mhm.
I understand. Obviously, you should still love yourself and have self love. I think that's super important and love every step of your journey. But make sure you set those goals on what you want, how you want, and how you want to achieve them. I think that's so, so important. And then just obviously learn to love yourself and give yourself grace throughout that journey because it's not necessarily going to be linear, it's going to
Yeah.
be ups and downs. But as a long term goal, if you're making progress, just like with anything, that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
And I believe I gained so much confidence from obviously just working with you, Brooke, and then it gave me that confidence to feel really good on stage, which overall
Yeah.
just made me feel better. Even if I didn't win, I was like, well, I did so much better than I did last time. I killed it.
Yes.
I look
Good.
good. The photos are amazing. I'm happy. and
Oh, that's awesome.
and now I can go do runways that I've been doing for
Yeah.
swim week, which is great. I never would ever have done that in a million years, but now I'm trying to go to Miami Swim Week. So
Yeah.
things change and you can grow, and that's probably my biggest advice.
I love that. Yeah, so many doors open, ladies. So yes, we want you to kill it at whatever you do, if it's pageantry, if it's roughing a runway, just whatever it is. If it's just in life, like you just wanna level up, we wanna be able to see you walk away with confidence and knowing that it really is on the inside of you. Sometimes you just have to surround yourself with others who also can see it and pull it out of you. So, Danielle, what would be your final bit of advice, or what would you hope that other ladies who are listening would take away from our conversation today?
If you have any doubts, just do it, as Nike would
Yeah.
say. Just do it. I
Yeah.
was terrified the first time I stepped onto a pageant stage. I think I blacked out. I'm actually positive I blacked out. But you know what? I did it, and I'm proud of
Okay.
myself for doing something that made me uncomfortable. And guess what? I kept going back, and I kept feeling uncomfortable. And in that uncomfortableness is where you grow. And
Yeah.
that is my biggest piece of advice is just do it.
I love that. So I want to thank Danielle for being one of our featured guests for the launch of the podcast. Yes. And again, we're going to ask that you hit that subscribe button, like and share. And not only that, but listen again. I'm sure there was something that you heard that Danielle said, but also there's a lot that you may have missed. In addition to that, there's so many other beautiful ladies that are coming on during this launch phase. So I hope that you have a chance to tune in to all of them because all their stories, I'm sure, will inspire you. So again, my name is Brooke of Rock the Stage Fitness, and it's such a pleasure to have you join us on this first launch of our Rock the Stage podcast. Thanks again, Danielle.
Thank you.